This is CBS 5 News at 5 with Michael Penny.
Breaking now, we are supposed to protect our children, the Syracuse police chief said an hour ago about a man who was accused of doing the total opposite. And just minutes ago, the booking photograph, the mugshot. 24-year-old Ryan Lawrence, the father of baby Maddox, is now charged with second-degree murder, accused of killing her and putting her body in the Inner Harbor.
We're supposed to protect our children, and all of us in law enforcement, that's the way we feel, and for most of us, that's the reason why we enter into this line of business here. As challenging as it may be in today's environment, we're willing to step up and don those badges and uniforms each day to stand in the gap, to try to assure that something like this doesn't happen. And when it does, yeah, we want to bring closure for the family, but boy, it don't make it any easier.
Syracuse police and other agencies today announcing the father of baby Maddox is now being held with no bail. The chief called it a challenging case, investigating the death of a 21-month-old little girl. Ryan is now being held at the Onondaga County Justice Center. Syracuse police say this investigation is far from over. They are hoping that more witnesses will come forward. The family of Maddox's mother, Morgan, says they are devastated by this news and told us on the phone today they just need time to heal. There's now a memorial taking shape along the Onondaga Creek Walk near the Inner Harbor, this place that is such a joy for so many of us. Walking from Syracuse to Onondaga Lake is now just such a sad spot. Balloons, candles, and flowers there to honor the little girl. Full team coverage on the way, including my live interview with the Onondaga County District Attorney after we get the forecast right off the top with meteorologist Mike Brookins on a tough day.
Yeah, some clouds are hanging tough and low in Syracuse. There's the Stanley Law Skywatch brought to us by Adirondack Furniture. It is dry here. We are expecting a wintry mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. It should be light and it will be broken up, developing as we get through the late evening and overnight. So a winter weather advisory until 10 a.m. for all of central New York. Just some flurries, light snow showers southeast of Syracuse on live triple Doppler at this point. Our temperature at 39 now, 34 at 8 o'clock with some scattered light snow showers. The precipitation may pick up during the overnight as we drop down to 31, then rise overnight. So we will go well above freezing tomorrow. It's mostly a cold rain. We'll talk about that changeover and accumulations, the possibility coming up.
Thanks, Mike. Just after 5, here are the top 5 stories on CBS 5 News. Under arrest in Manlius, a man locked up accused of stealing from people's homes while doing contract work for them. 53-year-old James Valletta of Jamesville is charged with grand larceny right now. Anyone who may have hired him and feels they might have become a victim of a crime should call police in Manlius.
This is about closing a chapter in our history.
President Obama calling for the closure of Guantanamo Bay. The president spoke about the cost of keeping that facility in Cuba open. It has less than 100 prisoners remaining there now. The plan involves transferring the bulk of the detainees to other countries and moving the rest, who can't be transferred abroad because they've been deemed too dangerous, to another detention facility in the U.S. Right now, voters in Nevada are going to the polls for the Republican presidential caucus. Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz were out talking to voters today in a last-minute push for support. Donald Trump last night flew in from Atlanta, Georgia to hit a rally in Las Vegas. Trump is expected to win out west, but second place is very much up for grabs, the polls say. Looking ahead, the funeral for a 7-year-old boy killed in a house fire in Rome last week is tomorrow at the Nunn and Harper Funeral Home. Police say Ryan St. Andrew and his 3-year-old cousin were visiting their grandfather at the home on Turin Street when the house caught fire. Ryan was a second grader at Ridge Mills Elementary School. The Rome Fire Department says it will release the cause of that fire Thursday. Students at an Ontario high school say a female student armed with 2 big knives tore through the hallways and attacked at least 8 people today. Police there say 6 students and 2 members of the staff needed to be rushed to the hospital. They're all expected to recover. The apparent attacker is under arrest. It is what so many have feared, a tragic end to the search for a Syracuse toddler, and now so many are mourning Maddox. It has been, by every measure, a terrible day in central New York. The news that so many were hoping would not be true is true. 21-year-old Maddox Lawrence, the little girl who'd been the focus of a 2-day Amber Alert, is dead. Divers pulled her from the water of the Syracuse Inner Harbor at about noon today. The Amber Alert was officially canceled just hours ago at about 2 this afternoon, 2 hours after the child's body was found. At this point, her father is the prime suspect. Ryan Lawrence was under suspicion right from the start, and late this afternoon, we learned he's now charged with second-degree murder. Police spent all morning at the Inner Harbor under the Bear Street Bridge. A helicopter was up and down, then a raft was sent into the water to bring this to a very sad end. As the search intensified with a helicopter and authorities actually going into the water, the sense of dread that had been building at the Inner Harbor turned into a gut punch. It was clear the search for Maddox Lawrence was going to end here.
I think everybody has the same feeling when you have small children. You know, it's just a lot of love, and why would you hurt someone so innocent? I don't know. It's a big question. Why? Why would somebody do something so terrible?
The massive police presence drew people who felt compelled to be close to the action. They have followed the Amber Alert since the weekend. Some, moms with their children. They came just in case police needed them to start looking around.
It's freezing. That's all I kept thinking, is it's freezing out all night. Nobody can find her. We have so much body of water in the city of Syracuse. I don't know why it's taken them this long to look in the water.
It's frustrating, and as a mom, you're saying things that resonate with moms everywhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's insane. I feel bad.
The search came to an end along the Syracuse Creek Walk, a place known as a jewel in the city, a place to walk the dog or walk with friends. Deborah Tucker says she just came here to pray.
For healing, just praying.
We all need it.
Yeah, it's just, Lord, let your will be done. But it just came to a bad, sad ending, and hearts are broken right now.
How can it be the will? Don't you ask yourself that? Despite your faith, don't you ask? So many people ask, how can it be the will that this would happen?
I can't answer that one. I just say, Lord, let your will be done.
One man from Cicero was at the Inner Harbor today. He told me he was heartbroken. He was at the mall Sunday when the Amber Alert came over. He walked the creek walk afterwards and is beating himself up, he says, because he didn't see anything. That is one indicator of how so many people are so broken up by this. Another area with a heavy police presence today, Labrador Hollow in Tully. A search was conducted in that area. Police at the time would not elaborate on it, but we did learn today from Syracuse police that this is under investigation as a potential crime scene in this case. Last night, you may have been with us here on CBS 5 as the search was intensifying. A police helicopter in the air and officers on the ground scouring Baldwinsville after there were reports that the suspect was spotted there. Police had him in custody, but were clearly searching for the child as the evening went on. Police say the suspect entered the Thrifty store in Beeville wearing a black wig, a hat, and sunglasses, along with a bandana over his mouth. It was a former worker at that shop who was in the store and recognized him from the Amber Alert. She called 911, and she is a hero, authorities say.
She told me she followed him down towards Rite Aid on Towner Street, and the police came and they said that they apprehended him and they weren't sure. I guess they did ask for his ID. This is what an officer told us, and it was him. He seemed a little off, but I just took it as, like I said, I thought he was homeless because he smelled like firewood, like he was in front of a campfire or something.
Ryan Lawrence was taken into custody at about 4:30 yesterday. We now know that he's being held with no bail, accused of his child's murder. CBS 5's Alex Dunbar is with the Live Eye. He's at Syracuse headquarters downtown with new information. Alex.
Well, Syracuse Police Chief Frank Fowler being very careful with his words during a press conference this afternoon. The chief offering few details on exactly how baby Maddox was found and what, if anything, her father, Ryan Lawrence, said to investigators. The chief making it clear he doesn't want to compromise what is still an ongoing investigation. And Chief Fowler said this has been a very difficult investigation for officers. The department wanted to bring closure for Maddox Lawrence's family, but an arrest doesn't make it any easier. Multiple times, the chief reminded everyone in the press conference that many details police know right now cannot be revealed at this time. When asked about Ryan Lawrence's mindset, the chief explaining he doesn't believe him to be suicidal, but also making it clear there are no easy answers.
What you're asking for me to do is to follow a logical thought process to describe a very heinous and illogical act. It just don't work that way. It just don't work that way.
The press conference was emotional at times. Chief Fowler saying we owe children under our care the right to grow up. The chief also saying they're not looking at any other suspects at this time, but they are still hoping to hear from witnesses, hoping to get some more information as they piece this together. For now, reporting from Syracuse Police Headquarters in downtown Syracuse, I'm Alex Dunbar.
Alex, I was struck by the credit that the police chief gave to that former worker at the thrifty shop. A citizen who knew about this Amber Alert and who really had her eyes open. She was in the right place at the right time and did the right thing, even more than that, right?
Well, absolutely. The chief making it clear, if it wasn't for that 911 call, we wouldn't have been here today. He said everything was said and made it very clear that that caller had seen the Amber Alert, and that was what led to it.
Yeah, with quick work. Alex, thank you. Right now, Onondaga County District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick is here, his first live television interview on this case that you have told a reporter today you will prosecute yourself. That is correct?
Correct.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Day.
Sad day.
The chief has gone over the emotion of this, how this affected the officers, sort of the timeline of things to a degree. What we don't know about yet is sort of the what and the why. Do we know what happened to baby Maddox?
We have a very good idea what happened. It'll be confirmed probably tomorrow. The Onondaga County medical examiner, assistant medical examiner, Dr. Clark, is going to conduct an autopsy tomorrow morning. I intend to meet with him during the autopsy and get briefed as to the final cause of death. And I want to discuss that, obviously, with Morgan and her family before it's revealed to the public. It'll probably be revealed sometime next week.
Okay, so there is nothing at this point that you can tell us about the cause of the child's death?
About the cause of the child's death, that's correct.
Okay, the manner of the child's death?
Well, the manner is homicide. We have reason to believe that the homicide itself may have occurred in Cortland County, and people would be...
That scene at Labrador that we were showing?
Correct. And I think people will be a little maybe confused as to why would Onondaga County have jurisdiction if any act relating to the homicide occurred in Onondaga County, including the discovery of the body. We have jurisdiction. I've spoken to Mark Subin, who is the Cortland County DA. He understands it, and it's his opinion, as it is mine, that this is an Onondaga County case and it'll stay here for prosecution.
Do you at this point know what happened to the child at Labrador, and you just cannot reveal that because it's
correct.
Sensitive for the family
That's
and you want them to know first?
That's correct. I want Morgan to hear it from me and in face-to-face.
Do we know when the child was put in the Inner Harbor? Do we know what the timing on that was?
I don't know the exact timing. I know that the child was alive at 4 o'clock when Mr. Lawrence dropped Morgan off at her place of employment, and fairly certain that shortly after that, and within hours, the child was dead.
How was he getting around? Do we know that?
Well, initially he had the family vehicle. Then when he left it there, our best indication is that he just proceeded on foot. He spent, I guess it would be Saturday night, somewhere in the city. I don't know if he's revealed that exactly where, and then proceeded back to Baldwinsville, which is where he's from, and felt comfortable there, and he spent the night there.
The folks at the thrifty shopper in Baldwinsville, when they encountered him, said he smelled like a campfire. Do you know why that would be? That he smelled of fire.
He probably had set a fire for warmth, and he wasn't in any structure that we know of, and I'm sure that the state police are probably are making efforts to locate if he had a campfire out there.
In the Amber Alert, there was a reference to mental health issues or something that may have, his mental state may not have been right. And obviously, if you commit a heinous crime, your mental state may not be in the right place. However, the chief indicated today that he was not really aware of any mental health condition. What can you tell us to sort of get that out there about his mental state? What do you know about it?
Well, I'd echo what the chief said. I mean, all I know is the description of him from the officer that interviewed him for many, many hours. Cooperative, coherent, articulable, gave detailed description of what occurred. So obviously, in a case like this, Michael, any prosecutor is concerned about the possibility of a psychiatric defense And the more evidence that we gather to show the normal things that he did, aside from killing his child, the stronger our case gets.
As we look at him, and we look at her picture too, because we've been looking at that almost nonstop for a couple of days now,
Right.
a lot of people will want to know, and do want to know, I want to know, do we know how quickly the death was? Do we know if there was suffering? Can we know that at this point?
You know, I will know a lot more tomorrow. It's my fervent hope that I'll be able to tell Morgan that her little angel did not suffer, but I'll be honest with her, and I hope that she can hold up under that. You know, obviously she's an important witness in this particular case, and as I said, we'll know a lot more tomorrow.
We're going to continue with the Onondaga County District Attorney. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back on the other side of the break. We'll talk more about this case that DA Bill Fitzpatrick says he will prosecute himself. We'll be right back here on CBS 5. Live to Syracuse's Inner Harbor, the Creek Walk, such a gem in central New York. So many people who've enjoyed it are just so happy that we have that to enjoy really in almost all seasons these days. And today, just under the Bear Street Bridge, the next time that I walk the Inner Harbor, and I know so many of you, you'll be thinking of what happened there today, the discovery of the body of 21-month-old Maddox Lawrence. Onondaga County District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick is here live on CBS 5, his first TV interview on this awful, awful case. Do we know why Ryan Lawrence did this?
He alluded to a little bit of the why in his statement. I don't always, you know, believe individuals when they get into the why. I know that, I mean, the irony here is that Maddox was a fighter, that she had been fighting a very unusual form of cancer.
Of the eye.
And all indications were that she was successful, but it was expensive, the treatment, and it was time consuming. If that contributed to her demise, I don't know, but
He has in some way alluded to that in his statements.
in his
so
statement,
far.
without going into too much detail, his statements allude to almost a sense of jealousy about the attention that this child was getting as opposed to the attention that he was getting.
No.
But you know, we'll hear more about that at his trial, obviously.
Oh, that's hard to hear. And this is a difficult question to ask.
Yes.
Social media, we know that things get out there, and sometimes awful things get out there.
Right.
There's been so much attention online about the heartbroken mom in this case and the statement that she gave to police where she was practically crying through it. Is there any attention in this case focused on anyone else other than the man who's in custody right now?
No. And to be very, very direct, I don't know why it is that tragedy can bring out the worst in people.
Always.
I've read the things that you've read. Morgan is a heartbroken, loving mother. There is zero indication that she had any knowledge of, any involvement in, anything whatsoever to do with this case. If someone were to suggest in the future that she did, I would be encouraging Morgan myself to hire an attorney.
Okay.
To pursue that person.
Onondaga County DA Bill Fitzpatrick, thank you. I'm glad you were here.
Thank you,
You
Michael.
shed some new light on this. I've said it's an awful day in Syracuse. I really do mean it.
It is.
Thanks, Bill. Our continuing coverage on CBS 5. We'll be right back.
This is CBS 5 News at 5:30 with Michael Benny.
Good afternoon. It is a day of absolute sadness across central New York. The heartbreaking news came at about noon that the body found in the water in Syracuse's Inner Harbor is believed to be baby Maddox. Breaking live to the Inner Harbor right now, that is where police converged today. And I've just learned from the Onondaga County DA that the suspect, the child's father, has alluded in his police interviews to being somehow jealous of the attention his daughter's cancer diagnosis was getting compared to the attention he was getting. Although there's no indication, the DA says, that Ryan Lawrence was mentally ill in any way. The DA says the child was likely killed in Cortland County at the scene at Labrador that we showed you earlier on CBS 5 News at 5 o'clock. Although there's no real indication of why the suspect brought the child back to Syracuse's Inner Harbor. The mother in this case is heartbroken, the DA says, and not a suspect in any way. And people who are spreading that on social media, and there are a lot of people spreading that, they are wrong, the district attorney says. The DA, Bill Fitzpatrick, who says he will prosecute this case himself. Full team coverage on the way, but first, as we always do, the forecast right off the top. After a 3-day search, all hope of finding Maddox Lawrence were destroyed today. Maddox, the little girl who endured a cancer diagnosis and was the subject of a 2-day Amber Alert, has been found. Her body turned up in the Syracuse Inner Harbor today. Her father is accused of killing her. CBS 5's Alex Dunbar is with the Live Eye. He's at police headquarters right now, where the chief really was as emotional as I have ever seen him in revealing the father's arrest today. Right, Alex?
Well, he really was. Chief Fowler really broken up at times during this press conference. Also, very composed. The chief chose his words very carefully. He knew what he wanted to talk about and what he didn't want to talk about. Information that he says police know, but they don't want to reveal right now. The chief concerned about compromising what he considers an active investigation, but you could really feel the emotion as he was saying that every child deserves the right to grow up, and that this had really affected not only him, but many of the officers who'd worked on this case, Michael.
Yeah, and he was saying that we should protect our children. That was one of the things that he said as you were talking to him and questioning him. The district attorney filled in some of the other blanks on this, Alex, and I want to bring you up to speed on this. That the baby was likely killed in Cortland County at that scene at Labrador that we were at earlier today, where we saw all those police cars lined up. But the DA also very careful to not get into sort of the nitty-gritty on this, which I suppose we're curious about to some degree, but also we know that we'll be sick to our stomachs when we find out exactly how the child was killed. And that didn't come from police either, right?
No, Chief Fowler did not want to talk on that. He was asked about it several times and just made it clear to everyone in the room that he was not going to go into details on that, and really didn't want to go into a lot of details on anything that the father, Ryan Lawrence, may have said to police. And at one point, Chief Fowler also said he really couldn't even give any explanation for what Ryan Lawrence's mindset could have been. Said it was completely illogical to try to apply logic to just this really what he called a heinous act.
Yeah, and this starts to make sense. The chief's reluctance to reveal any information about that makes much more sense to me after talking with the district attorney, who revealed a couple of minutes ago that the suspect alluded in his dealings with authorities that he somehow may have been jealous of the attention that the baby girl's cancer diagnosis, she had that rare cancer of the eye that she was getting treatment for. He might have somehow been jealous of all the attention and upset about all the cost associated with that. That certainly fills in some of the gaps that the chief clearly did not want to get into, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. The chief would really only confirm that that site in Labrador could be connected to this investigation. I mean, that was really even as far as he wanted to go in that direction. It was very, very carefully chosen words.
All right, Alex Dunbar, live in downtown Syracuse, who spent time with the chief today. We'll see you coming up at 6. Thanks, Alex. CBS 5's Sarah Beth Ackerman continues our team coverage. She's with the Live Eye on Valley Drive. That's the neighborhood that has been so on edge. And oh, right behind you, Sarah Beth, I see that princess balloon. Tell us more.
Michael, there's a deep sense of sadness on Valley Drive, and as you already saw, there is a balloon, a princess balloon. People who heard the heartbreaking news are coming out here. They're leaving some things, that balloon, the candle, and also there's a note that says, "Rest peacefully, baby Maddox." Many neighbors who live on this street and the Syracuse community were hopeful a better ending after the Amber Alert was activated over the weekend. One neighbor who lives across from the family says he would see the family from time to time. And today's news is absolutely devastating.
It's very surprising. However, I never can judge a mile, walk a mile in a man's shoes. So I don't know what he was going through at the time, but it was surprising. It's very sad.
Tonight, there is a police car, a Syracuse police car standing outside the home. We have not seen anyone go in or out of the home. As for neighbors in this area, they tell me that they remember seeing little baby Maddox playing in a sandbox in the summertime, and they can't believe that she's really gone. For now, reporting live in Syracuse, I'm Sarah Beth Ackerman.
Sarah Beth, we spent the morning together at the Inner Harbor. What an awful morning that you and I will both remember. I want to point this out too, and this is something you may not be aware of, but it's something that you and I talked about out there. The people on social media who were so quick to judge the mother in this case, who were judging her demeanor when she was put out there by police over the weekend as this Amber Alert was on, begging her husband to come back safely. The district attorney told me here today that there is no indication that the mother in this case, Morgan, is anything but a heartbroken woman right now. There is no one else being looked at for any sort of criminality in this case except for the father of that young girl. So I figured you'd want to know that too in case you weren't brought up to speed.
Absolutely, Michael. Yes, I did actually hear that. And, you know, we spoke briefly with the Syracuse police that are standing by over here, and they did mention the reason why they are at this home is part of their investigation to secure the area.
Absolutely. No other reason than that. Sarah Beth, thank you. This is one of the top stories on the CNY Central mobile app right now. You can get the news of the day, breaking alerts, and the forecast when you download it for free on your smartphone. Coming up on CBS 5 at 5:30, a break from the heavy news of the day and a focus on the forecast. It is 39 degrees in the greater Syracuse area right now. Meteorologist Mike Brookins tells us where we go from here.